So let's talk about Bitcoin. Is it this amazing tool for financial freedom, or is it just a brand new playground for criminals? Well, the fascinating thing is, the answer is kind of yes to both. Today, we're going to unpack the two very different worlds that Bitcoin is creating right next to each other.
Hey everyone, you're watching the One-Eyed Monkey channel, where tech, gadgets, and Bitcoin collide.
So have you ever wondered why some countries are just jumping headfirst into Bitcoin, while others are, keeping it at arm's length? You'd probably think it's all about inflation, or maybe how tech-savvy a country is. But the real reasons? They are way more surprising than that.
All right, let's try and piece this global puzzle together. To really get it, we have to look at what's actually pushing a country to say yes to crypto.
So, a huge study from the University of Agder looked at a whopping 137 countries. And what they uncovered pretty much flips the script on how we think about crypto adoption. It turns out it's not just one story, it's two completely different ones. Okay, so get this. This is the key. Forget everything you've heard about inflation being the #1 reason. The two biggest things that predict if a country will adopt Bitcoin are its credit rating and how politically stable it is. Yep. In other words, it all boils down to one simple thing: trust in the current system.
And that's what leads to this dual pattern. See, in countries with really strong, trustworthy institutions, we're talking stable governments, good credit, Bitcoin is basically treated like a stock. It's a speculative investment and opportunity. But in countries where you can't trust the institutions, Bitcoin becomes something else entirely. It's a necessity. It's a financial lifeboat to get away from runaway inflation, corruption, and all sorts of instability.
So you literally have these two parallel worlds. In one, Bitcoin is a choice you make, hoping for wealth. In the other, it's a lifeline you grab onto just to survive. The researchers really nailed it with this quote. Adoption comes from both strength and from failure. But of course, with this kind of explosive global growth, a much darker picture starts to come into focus. So now, let's flip the coin over. Because wherever you have a powerful new financial system, you're always going to have people trying to exploit it. That same borderless, decentralized freedom that makes crypto a lifeline for some people, well, that also makes it super attractive to criminals. And according to a brand new report from Chainalysis, the sheer scale of this shadow economy, it's just staggering. I mean, just look at this chart. The amount of money flowing to illicit crypto addresses has just gone vertical since 2020. And we're talking about the whole shebang. Scams, stolen funds, darknet markets, sanctions evasion. It's an entire criminal world living right there on the blockchain. For 2024 alone, the projection for illicit transactions is set to blow past $51 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is more than the entire GDP of quite a few countries. So where's all that dirty money coming from? Well, this chart tells the story. Scams are, by far, the biggest piece of the pie. And it's pretty much dominated by two main types. Those get-rich-quick investment schemes that promise you the moon, and this other really cruel one called a pig butchering scam. Now, if you haven't heard of this, pig butchering is just a devastatingly personal kind of fraud. Scammers will spend weeks, sometimes months, building what feels like a real online friendship or even a romance. They fatten the pig with trust right before they convince their victim to pour their life savings into a completely fake crypto investment. It's just awful. Okay, I know, that all sounds incredibly bleak. But the story doesn't end there, not even close. Because the very same technology that makes all this crime possible, it also holds the secret to taking it all down. And this is the real twist in the story. Criminals flock to crypto because they have this idea that it's anonymous. But they've got it all wrong. The blockchain is a public ledger. It's permanent. Every single transaction is right there for anyone to see, forever. And what you're seeing here is how law enforcement fights back. It's brilliant. Using these incredible analysis tools, they can literally follow the money. They can see it move from wallet to wallet, untangle these super complex laundering schemes, and eventually, they can link those anonymous digital wallets to real people. And this isn't just some theory, okay? This stuff gets real-world results. These tools have been absolutely critical in taking down huge criminal operations, like the notorious Lockbit ransomware gang. They've helped seize massive darknet markets, and they've dismantled the payment systems that thousands of smaller fraud operations rely on. So this brings us right back to where we started, to Bitcoin's two completely different identities. On one hand, it's a tool for investment and survival. On the other, it's a tool for crime and exploitation.
And I think the big takeaway here is that the technology, it's neutral. It doesn't have a moral compass. Just like the internet itself, or even just plain old cash, its power to do good or to do evil is really just a reflection of the person who's using it.
Which leaves us with one last big question to think about. This wild duality, the fact that Bitcoin can empower both the world's most vulnerable people and its most sophisticated criminals all at the same time, is that a feature we just have to learn to manage, or is it a fundamental bug in the entire system? The way we answer that is probably going to shape the future of money for all of us.